The rain fell hard that night, drenching the streets of downtown New York in silver tears. Inside a dimly lit cafe across the street from a glowing five-star restaurant, Emma sat alone, clutching a small envelope in her trembling hands. Her reflection in the fogged glass looked tired, not just from the long shifts at the diner where she worked, but from life itself. She had never imagined she'd be back in this city after everything she'd lost. Yet here she was, wearing a borrowed dress, trying to summon the courage to step into a world that once made her feel small. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story. Because what happens next is something every heart deserves to witness once in a lifetime. It had been exactly 3 years since Emma left New York, the city that once held all her dreams, and one man who broke her heart. She had fallen in love with Daniel Carter, the ambitious heir to a luxury hotel empire. Their worlds couldn't have been more different. She worked 2 jobs to afford her mother's medication, while he dined in places where even a cup of coffee cost more than her day's wage. But back then, none of that mattered. Daniel saw something in her, something pure, unfiltered, something that made him feel human again. They met at a small bookstore in Brooklyn. She had been stacking old novels on a wooden shelf when he walked in, drenched from the rain, looking for something to take his mind off work. When he smiled at her that day, she thought she saw kindness in his eyes. But as months turned into years, the kindness turned into something else: expectation. His friends laughed at her clothes, his father called her a phase, and Daniel slowly began to drift toward their world, leaving Emma feeling like a shadow of herself. The final blow came on her birthday. She had spent all day waiting for him, but instead of showing up, Daniel sent his assistant with a small gift, a diamond bracelet she could never bring herself to wear. It wasn't love anymore. It was pity dressed in luxury. So Emma packed her bags, left her apartment, and disappeared without a word. She worked as a waitress in a small town, sending what little she earned to her sick mother, who passed away months later. The pain hardened her heart, but she never forgot the look on Daniel's face the last time they spoke. Confused, guilty, but silent. Now, 3 years later, she was back, not for him, but for herself. She had worked her way up to managing a small cafe, saved enough to return to the city, and even started taking evening classes. Life wasn't easy, but it was hers again. Until that morning when she received a letter at her apartment door. No return address, just her name written in Daniel's familiar handwriting. Please meet me tonight at Le Jardin. One last time. Le Jardin wasn't just any restaurant. It was the same place Daniel had once promised to take her on their first anniversary. A promise he never kept. Her heart had raced reading those words. She had almost thrown the letter away, but something inside her, perhaps curiosity, perhaps unfinished feelings, made her come. Now, sitting in the cafe across from the restaurant, she looked at the glowing entrance where people in elegant suits and silk gowns stepped out of shining cars. She took a deep breath, gathered her courage, and crossed the street. Inside, the chandeliers cast a golden glow, the scent of roses and roasted garlic filling the air. The maitre d' looked at her doubtfully when she gave her name, but then smiled politely. "Mr. Carter has been expecting you," he said, leading her toward a private corner table near the window. Daniel was already there, wearing a crisp navy suit, his hair a little shorter but his eyes just the same. That mix of confidence and vulnerability that once made her believe he was different. When he saw her, he stood up immediately. "Emma," he said softly, almost like her name itself carried years of regret. She nodded, sitting down carefully, trying not to show how fast her heart was beating. For a while, silence sat between them, heavy but familiar. Then Daniel broke it. "I didn't think you'd come." Emma looked down at the menu, her voice trembling as she whispered, "I almost didn't. This place, I can't afford it, Daniel." He leaned forward, his eyes glistening with something she hadn't seen before, raw honesty. "Emma, I can't afford to lose you again." Her breath caught. She wanted to look away, but something in his voice made her stay. "You already did," she said quietly, "a long time ago." Daniel took a deep breath and began to speak, Not as a businessman, not as the man she once loved, but as someone who had finally learned what it meant to lose everything that mattered. He told her how his father's company had collapsed after a series of bad investments, how he had to start from scratch, working to rebuild his life. It turns out money can buy everything, he said, except peace, except love, except you. Emma listened, her fingers tracing the rim of her glass. She wanted to feel nothing, to stay cold and distant, but every word he spoke broke through the walls she had built. She remembered how it felt to dream with him, to laugh without worrying about tomorrow. She remembered how much she once loved him, and how deeply he hurt her. The waiter arrived, breaking the moment, setting down 2 plates of salmon and a bottle of wine. Daniel smiled softly. "I ordered your favorite. You used to love this." She gave a small, sad smile. "I used to love a lot of things, Daniel. That doesn't mean I still do." He nodded, understanding. They ate in silence, the rain still falling outside, each drop echoing the things left unsaid. When dessert came, a small slice of chocolate cake with a single candle, Daniel looked at her and whispered, "Happy belated birthday. I missed every one of them since you left." Tears welled in her eyes. She wanted to hate him for remembering, but her heart ached instead. "You don't get to say that," she whispered. "You had your chance." "I know," he said softly. "But please, let me have one more." He reached into his jacket and placed something on the table, the same diamond bracelet he had once given her, now with a tiny charm attached, engraved with the words, "I'm sorry." Emma stared at it, her chest tightening. "Why now?" she whispered. "Why after all this time?" Daniel's voice broke. "Because I finally understand what love means. It's not about restaurants or money or what people think. It's about being there when it's hard. It's about showing up even when you're scared. I failed you before, Emma. I don't want to fail again." The restaurant faded around them. It felt like the world had paused. Just 2 hearts trying to find their rhythm again. Emma wanted to believe him, but fear held her back. She had rebuilt herself from the ground up. Could she really risk breaking again? She stood up, wiping her tears. "Daniel, I can't do this," she said quietly. "I can't go back to who I was." But before she could walk away, he stood too, his voice trembling. "Then don't. Let me meet you where you are now. Let me try to deserve you this time." There was no music, no applause, just silence, and 2 broken souls finding light in each other's darkness. Emma looked at him for a long time, her heart waging war with her mind, and then slowly she sat back down. They didn't need to say anything more. Sometimes forgiveness isn't spoken, it's felt. As the rain softened outside, Daniel reached for her hand. For the first time in years, Emma didn't pull away. He smiled faintly, whispering, "You don't ever have to afford this place, Emma. You just have to let me afford every reason to make you smile again." That night, they walked out of the restaurant together, not as who they once were, but as who they could be. Flawed, human, hopeful. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time, that didn't matter. Sometimes love isn't about starting over, it's about continuing, despite everything. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because somewhere out there, someone still believes that love deserves a second chance. Special request, tell us in the comments. Do you believe that love can find its way back, even after years apart? As the city lights shimmered behind them, Emma and Daniel disappeared into the night, hand in hand, 2 souls who had finally learned the true price of love. Not wealth, not pride, but the courage to forgive. And sometimes, that's everything.